Welcome to the Golden Keys. I'm your host, Trent Zimmer, alongside my beautiful wife, Carissa. We delve into the fascinating world of life in Minnesota, parenting, entrepreneurship, and real estate. We are passionate learners, and we love to share the lessons, knowledge, and experiences with you. Whether you're a parent looking for community, an entrepreneur seeking inspiration and guidance, or a real estate enthusiast looking to stay up to date with the latest trends and developments, the Golden Keys has something for you. Join us as we share insights, stories, and wisdom on this engaging and informative show. So sit back, enjoy the show, and let's go open some doors. Welcome back to another episode of the Golden Keys. I am Trent Zimmer, and this week I am all alone, flying solo. Carissa had prior obligations, and we happened to get somebody on the schedule that we couldn't possibly reschedule. Steve is an extremely busy guy, and we really value his time, and we wanted to make his episode a priority because he's got such a cool story, and what he's built is pretty amazing. So I have known Steve for pretty much my entire life. He's one of the most humble guys I've ever known. He's one of the most positive guys I've ever known. We had a chance to co-captain a sports team together in high school, and that is where I think I really grew to respect Steve in such a big way. He's just an absolute powerhouse of a leader. He always has a good attitude, and he always gives effort, which is why he has attitude and effort written on the wall, and it's a staple in the culture that he's built at MASH Performance. And so I'm super excited to share this conversation with you guys. He's a top-notch human being, and I love chatting with Steve. I also get to play golf with him tomorrow. So anyways, without further delay, here is our conversation with Steve McGuiggan. Okay, well, this one is going to be super fun, and I don't want to take any time talking about fluff because we could probably talk for hours, Steve. For those of you that don't know, Steve and I grew up together. I think we met in Mini Mites.
Mini Mites, the yellow team.
Was it the yellow team? I was going to say, I felt like you were on the red team, but maybe that was football when you dominated football on the red team. Anyways, give me a quick who is Steve for people that don't know.
Yeah, so first off, thanks for having me here. So I am one of the owners of MASH, which is a human performance center that is right now in Egan. And we're building out kind of our dream vision that we've had since we started in 2012. And we'll be moving to Savage in the next 6 months. And inside of there, we'll have orthopedics, softball, baseball, and full performance training for not just athletes, but general public as well. So it's a literal enormous human performance center that evolved from two guys coaching 12, 10-year-old kids. So
well, you know what's really funny, Steve, is as I was like kind of preparing for this and reading about some other things that maybe I didn't already know, I went to your website and I found the picture of the original gym.
Yeah.
And I remember working out there from time to time with you guys. Like when I would come home from Florida, I was like, dude, this thing has some serious Rocky Balboa vibes going in it. Like, yeah. I think attitude and effort might have been in electric tape. Was that even a real decal?
No, that was just painted on just by hand. I still send that picture in our team's stuff every time that like we're going through really big stuff, because it's like a true, like however corny it sounds, it is a true American dream of this is where we started. This is where we're at now. And it's been a fun ride. And the spot we're in now is where we've always been trying to get to. So when you work for that for 11 years and you look at pictures like that, it's almost scary to start going into that next phase, because you're like, all right, we talked about this forever. Now we're here, and you just kind of do the now what? Now what do you do?
I remember sitting around a fire in someone's backyard with you when it was already a thing, but like you guys were still creating what it actually was going to look like in your minds. And I remember hearing those conversations. And so it's pretty cool to see where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, we try to be vocal about it. You know, we do that a lot here. We just talk about what do you want it to look like? What do you want it to be? And I think willing to fail, that's probably been our best attribute. We're pretty relentless, because we screw up, we just adjust and we keep moving.
Okay, so let me stop you right there, because one of the things when I think about you, Steve, is, and we kind of skipped over who is Steve, which is, I feel like so par for the course, because you never talk about yourself. You always deflect into the group or what you're building. And I want people to know who you are. But why I particularly want to stop when you mention failures, because when I think of you, Steve, I think of winning all the time. And like one of the things I have written down here was, do you get criticized for your level of positivity and your energy? Because I know I've you always see people that are saying that, like, oh, he's too positive, or and I'm like, I don't, to me, I don't know that can you be too positive and too much energy? I don't think so. And I think you are like the poster child for the power of positivity. So tell me a little
I
bit about some
appreciate that.
failures. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. It's a good way of saying it because you do. I think the word you get when that's kind of who you are and the persona that you have is unauthentic. When you're incredibly authentic, a lot of people think you're unauthentic. And that used to really bother me. Like when I was 23 to 27, that was really important to me that everyone liked me. But that's just kind of been part of that journey, was going through those failures and maybe making decisions that I shouldn't have made, just maybe business wise, or this kid goes to here, or he should do this training, or whatever it is. Once I understood, be authentic and just be yourself, and not everyone's going to always love that until they meet you face to face. That got a lot easier. And so that's been tough. And you're a guy who's on social media all the time. I mean, I get ribbed for being on social media all the time, but at the end of the day, like, I want to spread that message. It's who I am, and that's a great way to do it. And so that's the number one spot I go to.
It's hard as a business owner to not want to please everybody, but as soon as you let that mindset go, you start to attract the people that you want to be around, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we think of it more as do the right thing. So if my process is do the right thing, then I can live with the result. Like, am I proud of how I handled this situation, regardless of how somebody on the other end feels about it? If I can go back and go, I'm proud of how I handled it, I was authentic, I was honest. And if they didn't like what they heard, like, I'm sorry about that, but let's keep rolling. And you'll find the people who fit your culture inside of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Okay, so now you have to tell me about Steve a little bit. And here's the question that I have for you. You don't have to go back too far, but I've always wondered this about you. Has this sort of thing that you've built been something you've thought about, like when you were graduating high school or when you got through college, and because you went and played some professional ball and dabbled, like was an organization like MASH something you had thought of before, or did that just kind of like did that just happen?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for 22 and a half years, I thought I would 100% make it to the major leagues. That's just how I've always thought. And if I'm in that, and when you're growing up, like whether it's hockey or football or whatever it is, if you're still playing, you should be thinking that way. So when that dream ended, it was very, very abrupt. But my senior year of college, I was in a class that was basically a one-on-one class with a teacher. And the project was, if you were an entrepreneur, what would you create? And I created a baseball club, and there was a facility, and there was fields, and there was a campus. And when we started MASH, myself and Tom Buski, we talked about, what do we want this to become? What do we want it to look like? And that's been what we've been striving for. So to be honest with you, I've had some difficult conversations at the campus, because people will get there and the first thing they say is, could you have ever envisioned this? And you have to be honest and say, yes, like the reason we're here is because we did. And like, we made decisions in order to be here and have these opportunities and do these things. So that can be a difficult thing to navigate, but you have to plan to do something at that scale.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's
In
crazy.
that
I
vision
got
was
social media log of it, of saying, this many years ago, like, here's what we're going to do. This many years ago, here's what we're going to do. I've used that practice for 10 years
you
now.
manifest it, right? You create it in your mind.
Well,
And
yeah, because stuff gets hard. I mean, I'm sure I mean, things get really hard sometimes, and every once in a while you'll go through a month and you'll go, I might not be any good at this, but if I know where we're going, I can navigate through those waters to end up getting to that spot.
yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of times where you've wondered, is this even worth it?
Oh yeah, a lot recently.
A lot recently when you walk out and you see a gigantic building being built.
That's scary. We
Oh,
talked this the other day. It's like, is it fun? It's like, yeah, some days it's fun, and overall, is it worth? It's got both those things.
yeah. In your vision, did a ball player walk out of a cornfield by chance?
Yeah, we tried doing that because there's trees on site. So we tried making that video. It didn't work out, but
I
we
think
tried.
I think I saw your effort. It was good.
Yeah, it was.
You've
It
got a
didn't
great
hit, but
you've got a great social media team, man.
oh, well, here's the thing. It's one person, and he is an absolute rock star, Rhett Hebig. He is unbelievable to work with. So he does a great job. And now with us starting softball, he's got his hands full.
How
So,
amazing is that?
well, that's a whole different atmosphere. It's just the other day there was what 70 girls in here, all doing training for the first time, and like there's a culture shock there on
Yeah,
both sides. It's like been pretty male dominated for the first 11 years. So now Rhett also on the marketing side needs to figure out how do I do this, because it's a different member, it's a different
for
client.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Do you bring in another person?
Well, he would love that. I would love that. Hopefully we get to that point. That's
Oh,
the goal.
yeah, that's so awesome. Well, from the I've always felt like from the outside when you look at MASH, it's a baseball organization, but knowing what I know about you and Tom, and even just my son just started did a summer one with you. I know got to hang out at that, which is pretty fun. Um,
You can hit.
it's so much. It's a character building organization, and I always make sure because I have a ton of friends on social media who have kids there, and I see the stickers on the cars and kids roaming around the state fair with the hats on, and like your logo's everywhere. And I always tell people when I see that, I'm like, I hope you know that your kid is not getting a baseball experience, they're getting life experience. And most people don't know that, right? They think they're signing their kid up for, hey, my kid needs to get better at hitting. I'm like, dude, your kid is hanging around Steve and Tom and those guys. He's getting way more than that. It's worth every dime.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that's the whole point. I mean, that's one when you talk about like internal culture and what we do. We're teams, we're new to teams, but we have teams, so we use Teams chat. And really the only time we forward emails from our members is when they're talking about those aspects. So, hey, I really appreciate the season, but Coach Ryan's investment in my kid and who he is and the lessons that he learned is why we'll be back next year. And that's something that you can lose sight of very easily, especially as you're growing and especially as you get really talented players. It's fun to have players get drafted. It's fun to have players play in the SEC. But if we're not all levels getting them to be better people, like we're not actually creating the network we want to create. Because now so we'll have, over the course of the year, 60, 70 coaches, just part-time guys through. And at this point, about half of those guys end up being people who used to play for us. So that's a huge sign of when they were here, they enjoyed their experience and they want to give that back. That's how we have to grow this. It's not going to be through Billy signed a professional contract. That's great, but if Billy doesn't do things the right way, like we're probably going to lose contact with him anyways. So
Right.
that's how we function since we started, and we have to keep reminding ourselves to do that.
How many guys do you have in the pros? Or how many D1 or how many pro drafts, or do you have any
It's a
numbers
really
around
good.
that stuff?
So in the last 11 years, we've had 275 kids go play collegiate baseball at all different levels. We've had 10 guys who have played professional baseball who have come from MASH, so getting into the professional ranks. So those numbers have started to increase more rapidly at first. I mean, when we started, I was 23. So if I called a college coach and was like, hey, I got a really good player, he's just not even going to pick up. Where we're 10, 11 years in, there's a reputation of those types of players. And the guys now are just getting more opportunities than even really good players in our club we got 5 years ago. So
Yeah,
you have to learn that in baseball.
I was just gonna say baseball is like one of those sports where there's so many players. How does one get an opportunity over the other? It probably has a lot to do with where you play, who you know, and those relationships. Because like Billy at MASH and Johnny at some club in Iowa could be the same quality player, but
Yep.
one gets the chance and one doesn't.
Yeah, it works the same as anything, right? Like you probably have people, that you call and you say, hey, I would suggest X, Y, Z. And they go, absolutely, I trust you. If you don't have a coach that has that, much like when I was 23 years old and they called, there's no background that I'm giving a good suggestion. So it is who you know, and it goes both ways. We talk to our players all the time, and it's like, we will fight for you, but we will always tell the truth. And we do the same thing with our coaches. We'll fight for you, but we'll always tell the truth. So I'm not going to lie for you, but if you're a great player and you're a hard worker, I'm going to relay that information. If you're lazy and you don't show up on time, I'm going to relay that information. So that sense of accountability throughout the club, from owners all the way down through, you know, our coaches at the rookie level, that's just a standard that we have set, which is great.
You used two words that I was just about to say, which is accountability and standard.
Yeah.
And I think you nail those from a culture standpoint. I mean, no better way to hold people accountable than it's black and white.
Yeah. What did we do here? Did we
Right.
hold the standard, or were we under the standard?
There's no gray area.
That transfers to everything.
Yeah.
So right now we're doing cleaning day in here. You know, did you meet the standard of what the facility needs to look like or not? It's a simple conversation at that point. It's not subjective. So we like to live in that world.
So where does I kind of want to go back to when you started. Where does Tom come in? I know you and Tom did this together from the very beginning. But how did you hear? A lot of people who Tom's very smart. A lot of people who listen to this will be maybe some other entrepreneurs, people who are looking for partnerships. And that's, I think, what sticks out about you guys is you guys seem so in cahoots. Like you guys just mesh well, right? I think you're like me, Steve, in that like you're pretty business savvy, but like you're a people's guy and you're a go-getter, and that's how I am, right? Carissa, for me, is the more like business plan, budget. We have to do this. That's not me. And so I get that same vibe from you. But how did you find Tom? How do you guys work together? Explain that dynamic a little bit.
Yeah, so I think what's really exciting is the things that you're saying from an outsider looking in are the things that we hope people think about us. Like we hope we're representing. So that's what Tom and I have always hoped. Tom actually started just a little club and had a team and started recruiting players. And I heard about it. I gave him a call. I was playing indie ball and I said, hey, I'm going to play indie ball. And he said, well, let me know. And I said, I might be back pretty quick. Got released.
You didn't seem too optimistic, Steve.
Oh, I wasn't ready. I just didn't know who I was.
Well, what was your walk-up song?
That was Good Vibrations by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
How did they not keep you?
I don't know. I won Minor Idol as well. So the veterans wanted me to stay, but I think you have to get a hit to stay. I think you have to actually get a hit, which is a great story now, but at the time, boy, was I sad. So
I can imagine.
I met with Tom, and we met at a Caribou Coffee, and honestly, he just is great at everything that I'm not talented at, and we complement each other extremely well. And anytime over the last 11 years that things have got really difficult, both of us understand when it's time to step up. And I think that that's what made it so great is our skill sets are yin and yang, but you know, when it hits the fan, both people are ready to dive all in. And that's why we've been successful. And I think that goes all the way through the staff when they see us work together, because it's not about being right. It's about getting it right. And we're good at understanding that concept, even though we're both owners. Let's get this right. Whoever has the better idea, let's go with that and let's run.
Yeah, it's awesome. Did you know Tom before that meeting? Did you know him through baseball?
I played with him when I was a sophomore in high school, and he was a freshman that came back from the Gophers to play Legion baseball.
Okay.
So he came back. So I played with him for 1 year.
Okay. So you didn't know him super well?
No, not super well. But I did when I was getting recruited by the Gophers. I called him to ask what he thought about it. So I'd had a couple of conversations with him, and both were like high level combos. It's kind of weird. We didn't have chit chat combos, but like, hey, I'm thinking about going to the University of Minnesota. What do you got for me? You know, like high level. And I had always respected him. So it was a pretty easy decision for me. Plus, I was 23 years old and living in my parents' basement. So I didn't have a lot of options.
I was joking with your dad at baseball last week. I was like, man, we're lucky he chose basketball, because if he would have stuck with hockey, MASH wouldn't exist, because he'd be playing the NHL somewhere.
I know. That's the night. My dad, it is a true story.
I think he says you picked it.
No, he admits this too, and he probably lie if you see him. But I had to choose between hockey and basketball, and my dad said, "Hey, you want to play basketball? I'll get you whatever pair of shoes you want." So I picked basketball over hockey, not thinking I was in the state of hockey. Just for a
pair of Iverson spinners or what?
Yeah, oh yeah, Latrell spree rolls.
Oh yeah, is that what they were? Spree wells?
Yeah, the
The ones
sprees.
with the spinning rim on the side. I think
Oh
Sam
yeah.
Edison had those. Eddie, if you're listening,
Yes. Oh, Sam definitely had those.
Sam definitely had them. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, let's get to the new project. Let's talk about Savage because this has been really fun to watch you do this. And so tell us what you're building.
So we are building a 68,000 square foot facility that is literally Mashes. So Mashes is the owner of the land and the building. Um, and that was the vision. So when you walk in, there'll be a performance center, there'll be a main lobby. And then we partnered with TCO, which was a really big deal for us. They've been incredible partners already, just in conversations and what they want to create and what they want it to mean. So they'll have their own clinic inside of the building. And then as you walk back, there's a 185 by 185 clear span field house. So you can play like full, like if you're 10 years old, you can go in there and basically play a full game and just play
Wow.
baseball in the middle of the winter.
TCO is going to have a full legit clinic in there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
unreal.
Yeah. So we're really excited about that. And that's part of, when we started, this is what we wanted it to become. This was the vision. And we are known as a baseball club primarily because that's what skyrocketed us. Everyone has something that they're going to be known for. We got into baseball. Tom and I are both baseball guys. Those are all our connections. We grew that. That allowed us to get into the space where now we can, bring in physical therapy. We can expand our performance. We can bring in softball. We can work with other sports. So that growth now over the course of the next 2 years, I think will change that perception. Hopefully to where it started as a baseball club. It's not just a baseball club because we'll work with pro athletes all the way down to 5-year-olds. So
Yeah, I think
that's an aspect of what we do.
Yeah, I think for me, I've always known MASH was a place that wasn't just for baseball, but I know it as MASH baseball, and I think that's a
Yeah.
good thing for you,
Yeah.
right? Like, you know what I mean? That if the Yankees made a hockey team,
Yeah.
the Yankees would still be Yankees, the baseball team. And so I just think that you guys have that. There's a need for a top-notch quality place for baseball players in our state specifically because it just isn't a thing.
Yep.
Carissa said it before we got on the call. She was like, gosh, if I could think of one sports business that would fail here, it would be baseball. And they've nailed it.
It's really hard. I mean, she's spot on. When we first started, there was one club who had been around for a little bit, but otherwise there's been so many that are in and out, up and down, successful and done. So it's a hard business to be sustainable in and grow inside of, and you have to have that plan. And I mean, we're going to get challenged in the new space. We don't have it all figured out. We can sit here on paper and go, we're going to do X, we're going to do Y, we're going to do Z. But that's where the leap of faith comes in because we know when we get in there, we'll figure it out. We'll find a way to make it great. We'll find a way to have the culture be great. We'll find a way to use the space. But that's the part we're starting to get to. It's always been one day we'll have this, one day we'll have this. And now in the last 6 months, it's going, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with this? But like it flips it. It's just kind of a wild flip.
It'll be cool to see. I'm sure you guys have thought about this, but that with that space and being so unique, there has to be a need for like local football programs to come in and run camps or preseason scrimmages. A quarterback coach that's really good that lives in Minnesota has nowhere to teach his stuff in January, February, March. Now he's got this huge place. Yeah, there's so much potential there. So I guess my question is, when's the Schwann Super Rink South MASH edition going to come in with eight sheets of ice? Start MASH hockey.
There's some land over there. There's some land next to it. I don't think we're done. I think I'd rather put in a chicken in a pickle, but at some point, I would like to expand that out. So it'll be really fun. I think just from bringing people over there recently in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I try to get people to see what it looks like. But when you go over there and you pull in, it's like, oh, wow, this is the real deal. Like this place is going to be awesome. And you have to go experience it to understand, oh, wow, this is actually nicer than I thought. So they're starting to like frame out the mezzanine spaces and you can start to see where the stairwells are going to be, and they're putting the walls on the side. So
It's becoming
getting to the point
tangible.
now. Oh yeah, you're like, okay, what is this? And I still get turned around every once in a while in there, but you start to put it together of like, oh, that's what it's going to look like. Because we've looked at plans for 2 years. So to start seeing it get put into real life, you're like, oh, that's what it's like. Oh, okay.
It's no longer a digital rendition.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And you go through it's the same thing with the fear and the happiness. Some days you go over there and you're like, this is so big. What were we thinking? And other days you go over there and go, I don't think we're gonna have enough space. It's just like a wild, like up and down, like ride as the
Oh,
building starts to get enclosed.
it's amazing. So you sent me the sponsorship opportunities. So if somebody's listening to this, all those places that Steve is describing, the entryway, the mezzanine, all that stuff has opportunities for branding.
Yep.
And some really cool opportunity there. I know we've talked about some of it. So if you're curious about that, where could they get more information? Would they email you or?
So if you go to mashcampus.com, you can see all the information. You can see the updated photos, and then there'll be a sponsorship page in there, and you can go through everything we have. That's a new avenue for us. The current facility we're in, that was never a focus, but with the foot traffic we're going to have in this new space, it would be dumb not to. All the
It's
way
a
down to the
no-brainer.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
All the
it's a
way down to the
no-brainer.
Wi-Fi. Zold
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Oh, I like that. I'd have to come up with something way more catchy. Although I'm waiting for the wiffle ball field to be built.
That's it. Hey, we can take the. I want to do like a shipping container that's called Sluggers. That's like a little place to eat, but maybe we take that out and we do a wiffle ball field.
Sluggers would be cool though too.
Yeah, it'd be pretty good.
That would be pretty sweet. Oh, so anything else you want to add? Otherwise, we can wrap up. I want to be respectful of your time. I think we're right around 30 minutes.
No, I mean, I just appreciate it. It's been really fun. I mean, the last like 5 years to see, a bunch of kids from Apple Valley who grew up together. So many of the people from that group are just doing really cool things and really coming into their own. And I've seen you be doing that. I texted you the second you did this old thing and was like, that is great. I freaking all in on that. That's so good. I'm like one of those guys, I'm the ring the bell guy, so I get it. And I'm happy for you. And it's awesome. I told Trent when I saw him at MASH rookie camp, I was almost starstruck by his kids because I followed your guys' journey through the entire process so much. And I'm super happy for you too. So I just appreciate you taking time to have me on, and it's fun to talk about this stuff. You get to reflect, but I'm super happy.
Fun. You know what? I'm glad you said that. We do have, I feel like I've had friends from other schools, and especially, my wife went to our rival school across town, and they never understand the camaraderie that we all have together.
No doubt.
And I just love seeing our people win. So I'm one of your biggest fans. And if somebody listening to this has a kid who wants to get into your culture, maybe baseball's not their thing, but they want to come and work out and get a feel for what you're all about, how do they do that? Can they just go on the website?
Yep, go to mnmash.com.
Okay.
Look in there. Our off-season stuff is the best spot for everybody. So it's not team-based, it's just training-based. Anybody can do it. You can be a beginner all the way up to a pro. I will be honest, we'll open that stuff up on September 15th. And the last 5 years, we've pretty much been at full capacity within about 6 days. So
okay, so you heard it here.
What's that?
September 15th. You heard it here. Put it on your calendar. 15th. Get registered or you're going to be out. When's the new building done? January?
It's supposed to be December 23rd, fully done. So I'm hoping
Merry Christmas.
On Christmas. It should be good. I mean, they're on track, so it's good. And the hardest part is getting the actual building up. So it's up. So
please tell me you guys have a plan for like the absolute, it's got to be 70-foot roof. Put a big old tree in there. Come on. I can't think of anything more Steve Mash badass than throwing the biggest damn tree you can in there on the day it's finished.
The good thing is we're surrounded by them. We're surrounded by them.
Maybe just decorate those.
I got to get every square inch in there. But knowing Tom, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. The goal for 2025 is to have a golf simulator in there. So, I'll be upfront about that. That would just be a great one.
You'll have that. You'll have 3 of them. You'll have one in Sluggers. You'll have a couple somewhere else. Dude, Oh, so fun. All right. Plug your social media. If people want to find you or shoot you a quick direct message, what's the best way to do that?
I got to do MASH first. So at Minnesota MASH, at MASH Baseball, at MASH Softball, at MASH Performance. I am at Steve McGuiggan, and everyone on here, you go to our website, steve@mnmash.com. Send me an email. I'm happy to help.
Cool. All right, Steve. I appreciate you, and I love you, my friend.
Hey, we'll see you tomorrow. Let's play some golf.
All right, baby. Bye.
All right, everybody.